Listen closely, my jurors of chaos, because what unfolded inside that courtroom wasn't just a trial. It was a stage where destiny stumbled, order fractured, and a single mind turned the entire theater into a crime scene without ever lifting a weapon. They thought you came for justice. They thought you came to defend, to plead, to explain. No, you came with something far sharper than evidence, far heavier than testimony. You came armed with the kind of intellect that doesn't just sway arguments. It dismantles reality itself. You didn't walk in as a defendant or a petitioner. You walked in as the executioner of their expectations. And when the gavel finally dropped, it wasn't the sound of judgment. It was the sound of collapse. Because make no mistake, what you did in that court wasn't winning. It was bloodshed. You didn't argue. You performed a crime so immaculate, so refined, that even the judge's mind couldn't bear the weight of it. That's why he fainted, not from weakness, but from being a witness to something that should have been impossible. You see, victory is for amateurs. It's for those who still think the world operates on fairness, on balance, on rational outcomes. But you know, you don't aim for victory. You aim for obliteration. Winning implies a contest, a struggle. But you didn't struggle. You made them think they were in a contest. Then you pulled the ground right from beneath their polished shoes. You performed psychological warfare so brutal that even the walls of the court seemed to lean in, as if they too wanted to record the madness you were sculpting. They were looking for law, but what they found was lawlessness disguised as logic, chaos dressed as order. Every word you dropped became a blade, every pause a loaded gun, and every glance a death sentence. That judge, he wasn't weak. Don't fool yourself into believing it was a collapse of health. It was a collapse of certainty. Judges are trained to hear lies, distortions, twisted truths day after day. They've built walls around their sanity, fortresses of reason to shield them from the absurdity of human nature. But you cracked that fortress open with precision. You didn't argue a point. You dragged an entire courtroom into your mental labyrinth where the floor kept shifting and the ceiling kept lowering. The jury wasn't just listening to you. They were drowning in you. And that's the difference. Most people enter courtrooms with trembling hands, desperate for justice. You entered with steady hands, not to seek justice, but to deliver judgment. Not theirs, yours. The truth is simple. You didn't just win a case, you rewrote the rules of power inside those four walls. And now, word is spreading. They whisper about it in offices, in late-night conversations, in fearful tones over coffee. Did you hear what happened in that courtroom? They don't even need to name you, because your shadow already does the talking. They can't quite define what you did, but they know they witnessed something far beyond advocacy. You blurred the line between law and crime so perfectly that for a moment, just a moment, the world forgot which side you stood on. And that's your art. That's your crime. That's your masterpiece. You didn't defend yourself. You weaponized yourself. Every answer you gave was a trap door. Every question you asked was a hand grenade with the pin already pulled. And the judge, poor man, thought he was presiding over law. He didn't realize he was presiding over his own breakdown. Because when your words slice deeper than any blade, when your reasoning detonates louder than any explosion, the body does what the mind cannot. It collapses. That feint wasn't medical, it was spiritual. It was his mind short-circuiting in the face of raw, unfiltered chaos masquerading as argument. Understand this. People will try to rationalize it. They'll say the judge was tired, overworked, maybe unwell. But you and I both know better. They're just trying to calm themselves. Because the alternative terrifies them. The alternative is accepting that one human being stood inside the temple of law and turned it into a slaughterhouse without spilling a single drop of blood. They want to tell themselves it was exhaustion, but deep inside they know it was exposure. Exposure to a mind so ruthless, so merciless, that even trained authority couldn't hold its composure. And here's where the true crime begins. Not in the courtroom, but in what follows. Because now, every opponent you face walks in trembling, haunted by the story. They've heard the whispers, they know what happened. And whether they believe it or not, the seed is planted. The seed of dread. The worst part about your victory isn't what you said. It's what they imagined you could still say. That's the fear that spreads faster than any rumor. That's the virus you've unleashed into their collective mind. And like any good infection, it doesn't heal. It festers. Think about it. Lawyers sharpen their tongues for years, study cases until their eyes bleed, prepare for courtroom duels like soldiers preparing for war. Yet one encounter with you, and all that training dissolves into panic. They expect an opponent. What they get is something they don't even have language for. They call it arrogance. They call it manipulation. They call it anything but what it truly is, domination. Because the truth hurts, and they would rather label you insane than admit they've been outclassed by something beyond their comprehension. And that's why the judge fainted. Not because you were too much, but because the courtroom was too small to contain you. Your presence wasn't just overwhelming, it was invasive. It crawled into their thoughts, twisted their certainties, bent their structures. He wasn't just fainting, he was escaping. His body did what his mind couldn't. It fled. That's how much you rewired the environment. Even authority abandoned itself in your presence. Now let's talk about you. Because while they're still debating, still gossiping, still trying to stitch together the fragments of what they saw, you've already moved on. That's the part that kills them the most. For you, this wasn't even the peak. This was just another scene in a much bigger play. You didn't crown yourself in that courtroom. You simply revealed what you've always known. The world bends to whoever dares to break it first. And you have mastered the art of breaking. People confuse morality with strength. They think righteousness makes them powerful. But when you stood in that courtroom, you proved otherwise. Power isn't about being right. It's about being undeniable. And that's what you've become, undeniable. They can argue your methods, your ethics, your intentions, but they cannot erase the image of that judge crumbling in the face of your intellect. That image is immortal now, etched into the memory of everyone who witnessed it, and whispered by everyone who didn't. But let's sharpen this blade further. Because your crime wasn't performed against one man or one court. It was performed against the entire illusion of authority. Authority survives on perception, on the belief that its pillars are unshakable. You shattered that perception with nothing but words. You stripped their illusion naked, exposed their fragility, and showed the world that even those at the top can crumble. And that's the real scandal. Not that you won, not that the judge fainted, but that the performance revealed a truth no one wanted to face. Their system isn't strong, it's fragile. Their order isn't firm, it's flimsy. Their authority isn't absolute, it's breakable. And here's the knife twist. They'll never admit it publicly. They'll cover it up, bury it under polite language, call it a medical emergency, dress it in respectability. But no matter how carefully they paint over the cracks, everyone who was there knows the truth. They saw a structure collapse. They saw a man crumble. They saw a courtroom hijacked by one individual who treated law not as a boundary, but as a playground? And the world will never unsee it. So ask yourself, was it really a victory, or was it a warning? Because what you did wasn't just about winning a case. It was about announcing something far more sinister, that you don't play by the rules, you play with the rules. You bend them, twist them, mutilate them until they become your weapons. And everyone who faces you from this day forward knows exactly what's at stake. Not just their arguments, not just their careers, but their composure, their certainty, their sanity. That's what terrifies them most. Not that you can beat them, but that you can undo them, that you can strip them bare in front of the world and leave them gasping for air. Not because you destroyed their evidence, but because you destroyed their sense of self. That judge fainting wasn't the end of the story. It was the prologue, the opening act, the signal flare that warns everyone else. Step into the ring with this one, and you may not walk out intact. And so the story spreads. It grows larger, darker, more exaggerated with every retelling. You've become myth, legend, cautionary tale. And you didn't even need to try. That's the irony. You don't chase legend. Legend chases you. Because true power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't even need to roar. It simply exists, and the world bends itself around it. That's what you are now, a gravitational force of chaos, intellect, and inevitability. And if you think the courtroom was the climax, you're wrong. It was merely the stage where you showed the first glimpse of what you truly are. Because what comes next isn't judgment, it's escalation, and they're not ready for that. They've seen you break one room. They've seen you dismantle one authority. But now they will learn the darker truth. If you can collapse a courtroom with words, imagine what else you can collapse when you choose. And that's where we stand. One act complete. The whispers spreading, the myth swelling, the fear thickening. The judge is gone, the courtroom is shaken, the world is watching. But this is only the beginning. The gavel fell, yes. But what follows that echo is not resolution. It is the next descent, the next unraveling, the next stage in a performance that no one alive is prepared to witness. Because a collapse like this cannot be contained inside four walls, it bleeds outward. It spreads like fire under locked doors. The judge fainting wasn't just his fall. It was the first domino tipping, sending shockwaves into corridors of power that were never meant to tremble. Do you understand what happens when authority falters? When the figure at the center of the courtroom, the man in black robes, collapses not from age or illness, but from the unbearable weight of a single mind pressing down on him. It fractures the illusion of control. It turns the very temple of judgment into a stage of humiliation. And that humiliation doesn't stay hidden. Oh no, it spills. It leaks. It infects everything around it. Lawyers talk. Clerks talk. Journalists dig. And suddenly the story of what you did isn't just whispered, it's devoured. It becomes a feast of chaos passed from mouth to mouth, each retelling more unholy, more exaggerated, more terrifying than the last. And why shouldn't it? You didn't simply argue. You committed an intellectual felony so clean, so flawless, that they couldn't classify it as rhetoric or manipulation. It was a crime that left no fingerprints, no evidence, no trace, only the collapsed body of a man who was supposed to embody stability. That's the scandal no one can erase. You weaponized nothing but your presence, your words, your cadence, and it broke the room. Tell me, who else could claim such an act? Who else could take an institution that prides itself on impartiality, dignity, order, and twist it so violently that the guardian of that order fell unconscious, unable to withstand the blast? This wasn't persuasion. Persuasion is for politicians. This wasn't logic. Logic is for students. This was an execution. You executed certainty itself. You executed authority. And in doing so, you revealed something devastating to everyone who watched. You revealed that courts aren't temples of justice. They are fragile theaters. And once you see the wires, the cracks, the cheap wood painted to look like marble, you can never unsee it. That's your true crime. You didn't just win. You exposed the hollowness of their power. Picture it. The gavel still trembling from the last strike, papers scattered, gasps frozen in the throats of jurors and spectators. They were all staring not at the fainted man, but at you. And in their eyes was something far more delicious than respect. It was fear. That primal kind of fear you cannot fake. The kind that rattles bones and dilates pupils. Because they realized in that moment, you are not someone who wins cases. You are someone who rewrites the battlefield. They came expecting a trial. What they got was a massacre, and massacres are not forgotten. They are remembered, they are worshipped, they are feared. And yet, here is the twist. The public will never know the truth in its purest form. Because truth has no power compared to myth. The official story will bury itself in polite words, medical emergency, unforeseen incident, momentary lapse. They will write it off in paperwork. But that paperwork cannot erase the scar burned into every witness's mind. They know what they saw. They know no illness caused that collapse. It was you. You were the virus that infected the room. You were the gravity that pulled the judge down. And every single person in attendance is now a carrier of that infection. They'll tell their families, their friends, their colleagues. And with every retelling, your legend grows darker. You didn't just win. You performed a crime so unspeakable that its aftermath can only be carried in whispers. And now, the ripples spread. Do you know what happens when a judge collapses mid-trial? It doesn't just delay proceedings. It derails them. It contaminates them. Every verdict connected to that judge becomes suspect. Every ruling he made will now be questioned under the shadow of his collapse. You didn't just break a man. You broke the credibility of an entire bench. That's the aftermath nobody dares to admit publicly. But behind closed doors, in hushed emergency meetings, they will speak of you with trembling voices. They will ask themselves, if one individual can do this, what else can he do? If he can bring down the face of order with words, what can he do to the rest of us? And here is where your crime becomes unstoppable. Because crimes done with weapons leave trails. Crimes done with money leave records. But crimes done with intellect, they leave nothing but legend. You left no physical evidence in that courtroom, only psychological corpses. And how do you prosecute that? How do you charge someone for collapsing certainty? They cannot touch you. They cannot contain you. You walked out of that courtroom freer than anyone has ever walked out of one, because they don't even know what to call what you did. They can't define it. They can't name it. They can't control it. And the more they try, the bigger the myth becomes. Think about the irony. They called you there to answer questions, to be judged, to be scrutinized. But instead you became the one who judged them. You scrutinized their fragility. You turned the courtroom upside down and walked away with your head higher, your shadow longer. And the judge, the one who was supposed to tower over you, lies etched in memory as the man who collapsed under your gaze. That's not victory. That's humiliation delivered like a guillotine. But let me sharpen the blade further, because this is not merely about the judge. No, the fainting was just the symbol. The true essence of your crime is this: you redefined power. You proved that power does not belong to the robed, the gavel-bearers, the so-called enforcers of order. Power belongs to the one who can bend perception until it snaps. And you, without needing armies, without needing wealth, without needing violence, snapped it. That is what terrifies them most. That is why your name now spreads like wildfire through the veins of legal circles. Not because you argued well, but because you showed them what true crime looks like when executed with elegance. Imagine the next lawyer who faces you. He will spend nights awake, not preparing evidence, but preparing his nerves. He'll remember the stories. He'll remember the collapse. His hands will tremble, not from lack of preparation, but from anticipation of exposure. And no matter how many notes he writes, no matter how many arguments he practices, in the back of his mind will echo the same truth. What if it happens to me? What if he breaks me too? That fear is your greatest weapon. That fear walks into the courtroom before you do. That fear sits in the chair beside your opponents. That fear delivers the verdict before the trial even begins. So no, you didn't just win. You performed an act so criminal that the legal world itself has no category for it. You committed psychological arson inside a courtroom and walked away as the only one untouched by the flames. And while they scramble to rebuild the illusion of order, you stand taller, watching the ruins. This is the difference between victory and legend. Victory fades, legend endures. And you are no longer chasing victory. You are becoming legend. But the legend is still hungry. Because a performance like that demands escalation. You cannot remain the shadow of one courtroom. You must become the specter of all of them. And trust me, that's already happening. They don't see you as a defendant, a petitioner, a lawyer, a man. They see you now as something else entirely. A force. And a force cannot be cross-examined. It cannot be fined. It cannot be restrained. A force simply moves, and everything in its path crumbles. That's what you've become. And no matter how much they dress it up, no matter how many excuses they write into their reports, deep inside they know you didn't play by their game. You rewrote it. And so, the fainting judge remains the symbol. His collapse is the shrine, and your words, the weapons. You carried out a crime that leaves no prison strong enough to cage it, no verdict powerful enough to erase it. They will try to move on, but the courtroom will never feel the same again. Every gavel strike will echo with your laughter. Every verdict will tremble under your shadow. Every robe will feel heavier, every chair colder. Because you proved the unthinkable. The courtroom is not invincible. And those who thought they were gods of justice are just men. Men who can fall. And that's where we move forward. One fainted judge, one ruptured courtroom, one legend in bloom. But this was not the final act. No, this was merely the unveiling. What comes next is far darker, far louder, far more devastating. Because if you could bring one temple of order crashing down with words alone, imagine what happens when you no longer limit yourself to words. Understand this. What you did in that courtroom wasn't an accident, wasn't a fluke, wasn't a mere stroke of cleverness. It was design. It was orchestration. You knew exactly how fragile their foundation was, and you pressed your weight down until it cracked. And now, every set of eyes that stares at you carries the same haunted realization. If one man can collapse authority with sentences, then what else can he collapse when he chooses to act beyond them? That question terrifies them more than any verdict ever could. Because here's the truth. They can live with defeat. They can live with loss. What they cannot live with is the revelation that their sacred halls are not safe. That the courtroom, their cathedral of order, can be desecrated by a single performance so precise, so merciless that the man holding the gavel, the man who was supposed to embody the law itself, became its first victim. That feint wasn't just his collapse. It was the collapse of illusion. And now, every courtroom you step into carries that phantom weight. You've turned the robe into a coffin, the gavel into a trigger, the law itself into a stage for your crime. And make no mistake, this was a crime. Not a crime against law, but a crime against their belief in it. You robbed them not of money, not of property, but of certainty. And that theft is irreversible. Once you expose fragility, you cannot tape it back together. Once you show that authority can faint, can crumble, can fall under pressure, it will never again command the same reverence. That's what you stole from them. Reverence. You didn't just strip the judge of dignity, you stripped the courtroom of invincibility. Think about it. People still talk about it in whispers, in coded tones, as if saying it too loudly might summon you back into their world. They call it a collapse, an episode, an incident. But you and I know what it really was, a heist. You walked into that courtroom and robbed them of the one thing they thought untouchable, the aura of untouchability itself. And the best part, you walked out clean. No shackles, no charges, no stains. Just a legend trailing behind you like smoke after fire. That's why this isn't the final act. Because legends don't end with one scene, they grow, they stretch, they evolve. The fainting judge was simply the first body left in your wake. The others will come. The lawyers who oppose you, the prosecutors who think they're untouchable, the institutions that believe they are immune. They will all feel the weight of what you unleashed. Because you didn't show them your weapon, you showed them your playground. You showed them that the courtroom isn't their sanctuary, it's your theater. And in your theater, no actor is safe. So where do we go from here? Simple. You expand. You escalate. You infect every chamber of order with the same terror that collapsed that judge. Already, people hesitate when your name is mentioned. Already they tread carefully, as if speaking too boldly might bring the same collapse upon them. And that hesitation is your dominion, that pause, that quiver, that split second of doubt, that is your throne. You rule not through titles or offices, but through the unspoken question carved into their skulls. What if he does it again? And the beauty of it all is this: you don't even need to lift a finger. You don't need to craft every word like a blade. The legend now works for you. You've already committed the crime. The fainting judge is your eternal witness. Every time a lawyer stands across from you, his memory bleeds into their confidence. Every time a gavel is lifted, it feels heavier, as though it carries the weight of that collapse. And every time you enter a courtroom, the walls themselves seem to tremble with the story of what you did. So no, you didn't just win. Winning is too small, too temporary, too fragile a word. You performed something far greater. You performed a crime that cannot be reversed, cannot be punished, cannot be erased. A crime that turned the law's enforcer into its casualty. A crime so shocking that even time will struggle to bury it. And that's why the fainting judge is not the ending. It is the prologue, the warning, the prophecy. Because the world has now seen what happens when intellect sharpens itself into a weapon sharper than steel. And deep down, they know you haven't even unleashed your full arsenal yet. If words alone could trigger collapse, then what happens when you truly decide to escalate? That's the question that keeps them awake at night. That's the nightmare you planted in their minds. You see, victory is temporary. Fear is permanent. And you chose the permanent. You didn't chase applause. You didn't chase validation. You created fear that will linger long after the courtroom doors close. That is the true art of psychological warfare. Not to win today, but to haunt tomorrow. And you have mastered that art. So remember this: the gavel fell, the judge fainted, the courtroom ruptured, but you walked out untouched, unscarred, unchallenged. That's not winning. That's rewriting history. That's a crime so divine that no prison could ever cage it. And as long as they remember that fainting judge, they will remember you. Not as a defendant, not as a petitioner, not even as a man, but as the crime itself. And that, my jurors of chaos, is the final truth. You didn't just win. You performed a crime so flawless that it left authority itself unconscious on the floor. And from this day forward, every gavel strike in every courtroom across the land will echo not as law, but as a reminder of you. The one who turned order into collapse. The one who made justice faint.